Dear beautiful people, today I want to talk to you about what it actually means to surrender to suffering and how to do it. In order to come into alignment with our current life experience, we need to surrender. The reason for this is if we are in a state of resistance, we experience suffering. Suffering is something that comes from identity. Pain is there. Sometimes we experience physical pain. Sometimes there might be a toothache, some health condition. But suffering is something that we add to the pain by saying the pain is not allowed to be. When we're not in a state of allowance, we create suffering. Many know this. Many have been listening to spiritual teachers and asked themselves, how can I be in a state of surrender that I do not create unnecessary suffering for myself? Now, this is where it actually gets practical. Let's say you're on a tram or on a bus and you watch the people around you. And a lot of people, let's say they grab their hands tightly, they clasp, they're frowning, so they're worried. In that moment, when you watch them, you will realize with observation that these physical expressions, that means muscle tension, frowning, a lack of deep breathing, results from the thought process. So they're trapped in the mind. When they're trapped in the mind, that means they're worried. And when they start worrying, they're disconnected from the current experience, so they're not in alignment with it. Try to understand that in life, we often get exposed to completely new environments and situations. The ego that has an interest in identity will try to resist this exposure because it does not want to change. It wants to stay in the comfort zone, the known. So it resists mystery. But on a deeper level of truth, you are the mystery. So when, on the level of person, you resist the mystery, you're actually resisting yourself. Try to understand that the ego is afraid of the expansion of consciousness. Because if you actually expand in consciousness through experiences that you are not in control of, that you need to surrender all biases, all attachments in order to be able to align with that experience. This is the loss of identity. But this is where soul consciousness enters. And the soul wants to learn. And the ego wants to resist. In order not to resist, even though you might feel that you have biases towards the current life situation, that you think that this life situation creates your suffering, it is of importance to make, if you will, practical exercise. So instead of being in a state of muscle tension, instead of frowning, instead of flat breathing, every time you consciously relax every muscle in the body, every time you let go, and instead of breathing flat, you observe your breathing and you breathe deeply, you get rid of a little bit of resistance. And you don't get rid of it by eliminating it, but by accepting that you're in a state of resistance to begin with. Now, when we fully surrender, and mind you, if you surrender, you're not in a state of resignation. You surrender the attempt of the ego to control. When you seize control, soul intelligence can take over in the present moment via intuition. And what is, as of yet, not really known from a scientific level is that intuition is a very clumsy word for psychic ability. Try to understand that you have more than your localized memory in the brain. You have a memory of many lifetimes. There's a deeper intelligence at work. But this intelligence cannot work if you want to reinforce the ego. And if you have biases and ideas of being a victim to the experience. The soul wants to experience. It wants to learn. So if you can see the suffering as a teacher and not as an enemy, and you surrender to it, the teaching can be revealed. And as such, you can come into alignment with your higher self. Contemplate about that. Be well.